Good morning. So I'm going to try and do a little garden tour, even though it's very bright right now. I'm going to step into the shade. Um, it has been a very crazy season this year. My stuff just started coming into looking good. For the longest time, it looked stunted. Most of it looked like it wasn't actually going to grow. So I thought this morning, since it's still fairly nice outside and we're supposed to hit some pretty high temperatures, we would do a garden tour. So I have a few minutes because my kids are eating breakfast. I think I'll start with this yard and then we'll move on as they're playing throughout the day to the other spaces in the garden. All right, first up we have the always coming back wildflower patch. I planted this right when we moved in May of 2019. We cleared this space. All of this was grass. I don't know if I have a picture, but all of this area was grass with like a couple of stepping stones, and we moved all this rock from the lower yard where they had an excess of rock where my garden beds are. So we moved it up here so the kids would have an expanded place to play, and also I would have this bed for wildflowers, and it's doing really well. There's a lot of just random stuff in here. Some of it's weeds, but as long as it's not something that's going to like strangle out my plants, I'm letting it stay because wildflowers and weeds are pretty close to the same. Over here, if you remember this mess, these never came up, not once. I had a little bit of peking green in a couple, and then we got like a really, really cold night, and it just killed them all. I am going to try this again, though. This was the currants and the raspberries, and I think the buddleias. I have more seed because I had to double order. I'm going to try it again, but I'm going to try it differently. I'm not doing it the way they recommended on the pack where you do a greenhouse kind of a thing because I don't have a greenhouse. This is as close as I got with this plastic bucket. I am going to try stratifying them and planting them indoors, and I'm going to probably start that in the next couple of weeks to see if I can't get nice sizely plants before I plant them out next spring because they do grow very slow. So that's going to be the next experiment. This one failed. Also, another experiment that failed was my single seed. Failed twice. Don't know what I was doing wrong, but it just was not taking off. None of my tomatoes did well this year. They all got some kind of virus in the plant room with some of my other stuff. But anyway, sunflowers all the way down here. They literally line the back of my house. They go all the way to the air conditioner. Here in the middle of the walkway, like every year, volunteer sunflowers. I don't know how they come up here every year, but they do. This year we're actually looking like they're going to open. Last year the wind knocked them down, but this year they're looking good. I'm keeping them because they want to survive. I'm just going to let them do their thing. Same with these cosmos. I'm keeping them until I cut them for flower arrangements. But I mean, why not? They're not, the kids don't play over here as much as I thought they would when we built this pathway, so. We got some more sunflowers up in here. A lot of bugs. These are starting to come in here. These should be an echinacea. I don't know what this is, but it is very pretty. And it is very tall. I have some more down there. The, I believe they're called a Sweet William in our area, which I didn't know. They're technically a dianthus. They've all fizzled out, but they looked great. I'll put a picture up because I had a picture from early spring. And then this thing, the evil plant. They call it the tree of heaven and the tree of hell. I have to pull that out, but it smells so bad when you pull them out. And I have some dockweed over there that I also need to pull out. My yard is very much full of weeds, and I'm trying to keep on top of it, but with two tiny creatures running around, being my children, and working, and then all the rain we've had, it's hard. It's very hard to keep up. But we're trying. Okay. And ignore my trash bag. I've been pulling weeds on the path. Over here, this is going to be, try and get my shadow out of the way. Very bright. This is an area where I planted wildflowers this year for the kids' pollinator garden. The milkweed has come back 4 years in a row now, and it is currently covered in bees and other beneficials. They love this. I have a sweet Thai chili pepper tucked in back there in a pot. A whole bunch of stuff that's coming up that hasn't flowered yet that I'm not sure what it's going to be because I planted a wild pack. There's a random pack of wildflowers here. Some poppies, which I've been enjoying. A little bit of, hopefully, Queen Anne's lace because that's what it looks like it should be. Yeah. Oh, and then my alliums have all finished for the season. I also have a picture of when these were in their glory. Nothing else was here yet, though. Nothing else had filled in, so there's a little bit of calendula tucked in there. It's just a very pretty space. I did plant some dahlias in here, and I don't see them doing anything. Take a look at the back side here. Yeah, a little bit of the bachelor buttons, and yeah, just a really pretty space. My lavender has not done well over here. I don't know if it was that pot I put it in or what, but I just wanted to put it in a pot to raise it up so it didn't get boggy, but it seems to have not liked the up and down weather. Which, to be fair, we've had a lot of really cold, then really hot, and then all of a sudden we're backing down into the 50s at night. The poor plants, they don't know what to do. All right, we're gonna head over to an area I'm working on. It's a work in progress, so it's not done yet. Before we get into the new vegetable garden, this space is where I put all my rehab plants. Right now I've got this rose bush that started putting on new growth. Here's its tag down here. It's a little orange cutting rose. I scored this for $5 on clearance at my local Lowe's. This is hibiscus I bought 3 years ago on clearance. They are doing fantastic this year. There's a lot of buds. Last year I only got 2 flowers. This year it looks like we're in for a pretty big show. One's pink and one is red. I planted these in a video very early up on our channel. And in this area, you see my cardboard boxes. I am working on this. I'm making a path with wood chips. Same wood chips I ordered 2 years ago when I said drop off a double batch to chip drop, and they did. And I'm still working through them. They're mostly broken down now, which is going to be great because next season the soil will be kind of repaired. But I have boxes because I'm working on the pathway. I'm kind of doing like a no-till type thing. This gate broke. It's going to lean on me. Right here, I have our potatoes. They are done flowering. They're just kind of sitting, hanging out. I've mulched them up. I wrapped this fabric around here, which is the fabric I use to cover my beds, to keep the mulch from falling out because I am using a very fine straw and it was just coming out the sides. But I have mulched them up a little bit and they're just looking good. They look like healthy plants. They're not being affected by bugs as bad as I thought they would be. So that's looking good. I think we're getting close to a harvest for that. Moving on down the path here, I have jade beans, the green beans. They are just starting to come up. I planted these a little bit later because it was so cold. At night I did not want to put them in the ground yet. And then I have that backed by some yellow pear tomatoes, which are starting to put on flowers. So that's looking fantastic. I have 3 of them in this bed. Down here, I need to pull these cabbage out. I just haven't done it yet. Some of them, like this one's got a little head. Some of them look like they might flower. The cabbage moths, I've been loving it. I haven't kept the fabric on here. But I need to pull them out because I do have 3 tomatoes in here. These are the dark black cherry tomatoes, I think they are. No, these are the yellow pear. So those must be down there. Those must be the black cherry. The tag is gone from that one. So these are the yellow pear here. So I have 3 or 4 of the black cherry and then 3 of the yellow pear here. Celery is still rocking it. I mean, it's looking good. Here's where I've got to with the chips. I think it's gonna look good. I put the cardboard down for a weed suppressor. Down here, my little peppers that I thought were not gonna make it because of all the cold we've had are pushing new growth. They're doing something. They're trying. This one had a flower on it and it looks like it got fertilized, so we might have a pepper. These are the, down here, Italian pepperoncinis. The Jimmy Nardolo peppers that I did last year, which were fantastic peppers. And then my corbacci are down here. And I'm so happy they're all putting on growth. This monster needs to go. I'm working on it slowly. It's a wild grapevine. And then there's also dockweed tucked in there. We're trying to get it, but we have to be on the other side of the retaining wall to pull it out. And that's been a process. Right here, I have the white elegant snow lavender. A super blue lavender. I don't know if it'll focus on that in the sun. Let's see. And then my pink lavender has already bloomed out. These are a long-term thing. These will come back next year and they will be bushier next year. I have some lemongrass that I put into these bricks here. German chamomile in this bed here, which is just starting to fill in, which is lovely. And then some stevia that's seen better days down there. And then another, this is a high Dakota blue lavender here. My very sophisticated bunny blocker. It's my chicken wire. Over here, this is what I'm most proud of, this entire garden space. This is my first year having success with watermelons. And look at that baby. Look at her grow. Oh, she's so pretty. I have a couple of them on here. This one is just getting big. I'm gonna put a stocking to hold it up probably later today because I don't want it to fall off of there because I am growing up a trellis. But yeah, they're doing great. I have several on here. Here's another one right here. This variety is the doll baby sherbet, something like that. I'll put a packet picture up. I got them from Renee Seeds and I am so excited. They're the ones that go yellow, pink, and orange. And then down here, trying to catch up but a little bit behind, which is fine because we'll have an offset of watermelons, is the Moon and Stars, which just have the coolest leaves. And I have several of them down here. No watermelons as of yet. My cantaloupe is not doing as well as the watermelons are, but it's trying. Same with these zucchinis. I have gray zucchini here, and they're trying to grow. I know my shadow's gonna get in the way here. Move over here. They're trying to grow, but they are just having some struggles. I lost one plant over there. I gotta take the grass out of here. I have 2 more plants here. This is the only one where I'm having some kind of success. Down here I planted some of the cucamelon cucumbers. They're struggling again this year. I don't know what I can do better with those. And then on the end down here, these are all of my Roma tomatoes here. And we are getting tomatoes. There is little tomatoes in there. I bought these at the local garden center because all of my Romas failed to grow. None of my tomatoes did well this year, and I don't know what the deal is. But I have those interplanted with the marigolds and some basil. Basil I did grow from seed, marigolds I purchased. This is another Roma down here. And on the end down here, I put my Amish paste, which I also intermixed in with marigolds down here. And then my lovely cardboard coming out the exit. I plan on having the whole area filled in with the mulch so that it looks more like down there probably in the next couple of days. Problem is our mulch pile is at the very end of our property and it's all up a hill, and the lawnmower we normally use to tote that gorilla cart up here with is currently broken, so we're doing it by hand and it's a slow process. Alright, so it has rained and I took clearly a break because it wasn't raining this morning and it's now overcast, but it's better for seeing. So we're going to start back up in the original raised bed area where I have a very sad set of honey, is it honey nut? Yeah, they're honey nut. They're trying. They've got flowers on them. They've got flowers. They're trying to put on some growth. I've always had problems with butternut and honey nut. I'm trying again. A bunch of calendula in here that reseeded itself from last year, and then some grass because that's everywhere. And then I put in some yellow squash in here. And they are looking really good. They're putting on their true leaves now, which is nice. It has cooled down a lot, and that's what we've been seeing. We've been seeing some ridiculous highs in the temperatures, and then it'll rain and it'll cool off a lot. And hopefully we're not going to drop back down into the 50s because that's been the real killer for me here. A random carrot that came back from last year, cabbage and more calendula. These are my bush cucumbers. I believe they are National Pickling. I'd have to double check the packet. I'll put the picture up. They're looking good too. I got a couple. They actually go all the way down this row. I replaced my peas when I pulled the peas out in our video for that with the cucumbers. I have got to come trim this grass again because I had this idea when I put this in to put the fence right here and then line the fence with garden beds. It was a decent idea up until I realized the weeds are going to go straight through. It's hard to get to it. I also have pepperoni, I think. What is? Let's see. I don't remember what I put in here, pepper-wise. I want to say, I don't remember. So I put a pepper in here. They're starting to push new growth. I don't remember which pepper. They're a sweet pepper. I don't remember which one they are. I tried to weed the grass out of here, but then I was accidentally pulling up the pepper, so I stopped weeding the grass. So I'm waiting for the peppers to get a little bit bigger. And then all my jalapenos, they're just hurting. They're trying. Like, this is one of the pumpkin spice. It's got a spider on there. But they've hit cold and hot, and they just did not like it. So they're starting to push some new growth. I'm hopeful. Down here, some of my peppers, these are more of the jalapenos. They have new leaves on them and new flowers, so we might get some growth from now. I'm going to come in and take off, as soon as these sets are nice and big, I'll come take off these bad leaves so they can photosynthesize with the new leaves. Yeah, so I got more peppers down here and more cucumbers. This, my very reliable chive plant, always coming back. There's a weed back there I got to pull out. Some leftover radish that needs to come out. And all of this needs to come out too. These are my turnips that they were doing great until we got some really ridiculously hot days, and then the pests came because the plants were distressed, and I've got to rip all that out. My garlic down here is starting to turn brown and flop over, so I think I'm getting ready to pull that. I've never grown garlic this far before. Normally my garlic dies like pretty early on, but I think it's getting ready to come out. I don't know how big these are going to be though. I was expecting bigger stalks, so I guess we'll see. I'm going to probably take this out tomorrow or the next day because we're coming up to July here. Onions down here are looking okay. Strawberries, I didn't plant this bed too heavy because I was letting my strawberries from over here spread into this bed, so I only planted a couple of onions in here, and I'm just letting the strawberries runners go crazy because I want to expand my beds. Because this other bed next to it is 3 years old, so a lot of these plants will not be viable anymore next season, but they need to be cleaned up and put to bed for the season because they are done. They gave us a lot of strawberries, all of which my kids ate literally standing out here. So I did not get any for jams and stuff, which is unfortunate. In here I've got some mints, apple mint, peppermint, and I believe a strawberry mint. They're in this pot here. One of the carnations I started from seed last year finally got a flower, but it's done for the season now. Over here I have sage. I think I have 2 sage in there. Some oregano and some thyme from last season that overwintered and came back. In here I planted a mix from Renee Gardens called a soup bean mix. I have no idea what beans I'm going to end up with. I just put the seeds in here, and I could tell some are bush and some are climbing. I just put these arches that are what I use from the hoop house like thing I was doing in the raised beds up today, and they're already reaching and climbing. So that's fun. And I literally was like, I'll just make a little, like, it's not even very well done, honestly. If I can get a better image of it. Yeah, it's not even very well done, but it's fine. And then down here I have my Pippin's Golden Honey Peppers, which are also putting on new growth. And these are one of the new peppers I was very excited to try, so hopefully I get some off of this. I have a couple of sage. I have a Burgarten sage. This is a purple sage. This is the limoncello lemon balm. And then this is the lemon balm that I don't remember the name of because it overwintered from last year and I lost the tag. Down here, these are my bunny tails. This used to be a raised bed. The boards rotted out, so I just took them down and just stuck the bunny tails in the soil because it was fine. They put on a lot of new growth. There is some leftover zinnias. If I didn't like zinnias so much, they would be considered a weed in my yard because they pop up just as bad as the sunflowers. They're everywhere. So I'm just kind of letting it run and seeing if I get any bunny tails in here. There's a strawberry that came in from that bed over there and plopped itself down. It's fine. I got a handful of strawberries off of it. Here in this pot was one of my proven winter strawberries from last year. And it put on flowers and it seems to be happy growing in this pot. So I'm just leaving it. It's not very big, but that's okay. And then I have some calendula in here that I rescued out of one of the beds because it was in my way of my lettuce. And I popped it in this pot and it flopped over, but it rebounded and now I got flowers on it. It's really pretty. All right, let's talk green stalk because this is my first year growing in a green stalk and I am absolutely loving it. So up here I have, oh, some hidden strawberries. Didn't even realize those were in there. Those would make my kids happy. That one's not good, but the other one is fine. Okay, I have basil up here. This is the Pesto, the Proven Winners one. I picked up the seeds at a garden center. They had them 50% off or something like that. Like super cheap because they were from last year. They grew just fine. I'm pretty excited for those. Down here is my strawberries that I planted in early spring. They are pretty close to done. They are, ooh, there's a big spider on there that I just touched. There's a couple hanging out. I just saw some strawberries, so I think this one is no good, so I'll get rid of that one. I'll just let the birds eat it. But yeah, this has been really good. I still have some chard hanging out in here. On the same row as the chard where I pulled out the other chard, I put some little tomatoes, or the good-hearted tomatoes. They're doing okay. They're not moving very quickly, and I think it's because of our lack of heat in the evenings or at night. And then my carrots, I planted 3 rows of carrots. They're coming in, but I planted these in early May, and they are taking their sweet time coming in. I have some on every tier. Not every bucket has some. I think this one's got a couple in there. Yeah, they're taking a long time this year. I've never had carrots take this long, and I'm trying to let them go. I'm probably going to put radish and stuff in here if they don't grow for fall. But yeah, the little tomatoes are doing okay. These are the good-hearted, and I literally only grew these because I thought they were cute. So, and then a failed experiment of mine on the backside. This is our hibiscus we talked about earlier because I'm down in the lower yard now. I did try to put some of my extra honey nut squashes in these buckets to see what would happen, and nothing happened. they're just hanging out. These buckets were a cute idea, but things aren't happy in them. I mean, these aren't happy in any of the ways that I put them in. I have them in hanging baskets too, and they're just not liking their life very much. But I tried. These are okay though. Like they're kind of doing something. My kids helped me plant these little baskets, and they were very excited to go pick out their plants and plant the baskets. I think they're just not getting. They're getting plenty of water. We're getting lots of rain. They're just not getting enough heat, I don't think. I mean, they get it during the day when we have those 90s, but then it's sweltering heat. It's not like an even warm up in the evening. It's literally, we're going from like 50 to 90 in one day. Walked off for the green stalk and forgot this bed. I have another set of the honey nuts here. They're doing okay. They're fine. They're just hanging out. One's got a flower. And then more of the zucchini. These are the Black Beauty zucchini, I believe. And then the lettuce is still here from our lettuce harvest video. It's still looking good. It's not covered with pests. It's just hanging out. And some more calendula down in here. And it's all reseeded itself. I did not plant any calendula here this year. It just stayed around. This area is weedy, and I don't even have an excuse for it. I just haven't taken care of it. I put rocks here 2 years ago hoping I was going to make a nice pathway down. It never happened. Things got too complicated. Too much going on. So I started digging it out to kind of pull this out a little bit further here and move the rock line back, and it just all turned to grass. So I'm going to have to figure out something for this next year. But the salvia is back for its 3rd year. It's kind of sent some little salvias out into the walkway here. I planted some of my gosh, I can't remember what it's called now. Globosa amaranth? Can't remember its other name. Anyway, I planted that there. I've got weeds like crazy back in here that I have to come in and pull. These are spent for the season. They're going to go dormant and turn red in the fall. This plant, I have 3 of them. They are a spirea, and these were a clearance find 2 years ago. This stuff was a beast in my garden last year, and it reseeded itself everywhere. And I didn't think it was going to come up because I didn't see it for the longest time, and here it is. It finally showed up in the walkway, and it's everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere down in here. Not where it was supposed to be, because when I planted it, it was in between the spireas. Didn't come back there, but it came back everywhere else. But I'm leaving it because this area has pretty much gone crazy anyway, so I might as well. So there was supposed to be a path here that was going to wind down and take us to where I was doing the blackberries. I got to come trim branches so we could actually do that. And then we have our blackberry wall here that we planted up in a video last year. And they are loaded with blackberries this year. And I am pretty excited for that. I need to net them because the birds will come for them. And of course, maybe it'll keep my little enemies out because Japanese beetle pressure has been the worst this year. I'm out here every night in my zinnias, which we're going to go to next, shaking hundreds of them into a cup of soapy water. But the blackberries are looking great. I'm going to put a net on them, keep the birds from eating all the blackberries on me and the deer. Looks like there's some that might be ready to go in there. I did try to rope them up, but I need to redo it. So yeah, look at that. Like, come on. Every night I find this. I gotta come out here with my soapy water. Go get a trap, maybe. I should go get traps. I don't know. But they're loaded with the blackberries, so I'm very excited for that if the Japanese beetles can just stay away from them. I'm heading down the hill to field 1. This section that's super, super weedy. Okay, the whole thing's weedy, let's be honest. But this section that's super weedy, I have some sunflowers in here that I planted later than the rest. I've only seen a couple come up. I have seen deer tracks in here, so I know they're coming in, so I don't know if they're eating my baby sunflowers. I have the Pro-Cut peach, 3 rows of that here. And then the next section, I have a sweet corn. All in here. And I do come out here and weed, but like I said, it's been raining so much. And then after it rains, it's like really hot, so it's hard to keep up with. See another Japanese beetle in there. Here I have my Pro-Cut red lemonade, I think is what it was called. I have 2 rows of that. A Pro-Cut plum here in the center. I know it's gonna get hard to see because there's a lot of them, so it's kind of harder to see. But they're all Pro-Cuts in this area. And then on the end, I have a Pro-Cut white knight. All right, heading to the zinnias where I spend most of my evenings shaking bugs into buckets. I mean, they're looking okay, but I can already see, like, there's clusters, just so many clusters. And it's always, I just killed all these. Can somebody in the comments please tell me how quickly these things reproduce? Because I, every single night, am killing hundreds of them. And it's getting ridiculous. And I sprayed too. I finally sprayed. I don't spray hardly anything. I finally sprayed the Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew, and they're just hanging out again, like always. I don't even know what to do about them because they're just skeletonizing my plants. They're not attacking anything else. They're only attacking the zinnias and the blackberries. And then there's a bunch of grass in here because I planted neat little rows of zinnias and then completely forgot that I chopped and dropped last year, which meant they reseeded themselves, and I have zinnias everywhere. So it got really hard to weed because they're not in rows anymore. They're just sporadic. But God, this is, ugh. Look at that. So very annoying. But I can't tent this entire area. So right after this walkthrough, I'll be back out here with my soapy bucket. I'm sure everybody who frequents this road around this time probably has noticed I'm out here every single day with a bucket of soapy water. Just shaking zinnias. Yeah, more zinnias reseeded themselves down here. I did not plant anything in this area. The zinnias just came up. Down here I have all of my seed dahlias from Floret that I planted. I tried to keep the top of the grass in here and it just got so hard. So I'm trying to keep it low. We're mowing between them because these are in rows. But yeah, they're doing okay. I lost a couple to deer, and I know that because I found deer tracks and then half-eaten dahlias. This one is actually about to this field right here is an absolute mess, but it's actually growing some good stuff in it. So I have some little phlox down in here. They're not growing as I would like them to. They're very small, but this is the lavender and the cherry caramel. There is some status under this cage. I'm protecting it from deer. The baby's breath was doing beautiful and is pushing some new growth, so that's good. Down here I have my carnation rows, which are covered in weeds, and I did not do well with these rows. Like, I should have been down here weeding them more often, and I really need to come in and do it. There are some babies on there though. Let's see, the little ones here. These are the Aurora, these two rows here. And I mean, I'm still getting them. There's just grass growing up in there. And then a zinnia on the end. That hot pink is a zinnia that reseeded from somewhere else. They weren't planted here. I don't know how they got here. This one too, this is super weedy, and I failed at keeping these weeded because of the nets. I was like, I can't get in there, but then my whole yard's weedy. I can't even make excuses for it. But these are also blooming, and I have some that are, I'll go around the other side, that are opening up down here. And then down here I have all of my yarrow, which is all perennial, so this is going to stay. I'm going to also cover this after the season ends and try and get this to overwinter. I have a random sunflower that just popped up in the grass. This was straight grass last year, so I don't know how that sunflower got here. I got several bumblebees in here. This is one of the yarrows that's already opening. There's a little bee on that one. If we go down here, these are the LaFrance right here. I have one that's open that flopped over and another bud is coming up on it. There's just so much grass in here. I gotta come in here and get this out. But there are some carnations coming up. So it's the most success I have ever had with the carnations was these ones that I bought seed form from Florette. So yeah, let's look at all three of them in a row. Super weedy. Okay, down here again this year is my compost sunflowers. I chopped and dropped them here, and they just do this every season, and I think that it's fantastic, and I'm so excited that I accidentally discovered that. I have a couple in the compost pile again, and garbage in my compost pile, which I don't know how that got here, but we are right alongside the road. But I have a couple that are growing in here, but no pumpkins this year, which is great. And then a bunch of sunflowers that just kind of are coming up in their own way in different colors, things that are definitely different than what I had popped here. So that's exciting. This area is loaded with vole holes, and every critter who comes on this property, cats, dogs, anything, are obsessed with this area because of all that. Let's see if I can get a look up at that one. This area is also the safe haven for all of our fireflies, which is why I don't spray or weed or do anything over here. I just let the fireflies have their time. That one's pretty. Yeah. All right. There goes one of our fireflies now. They're all over the place in here. So you have to be very careful walking around here because not only are there vole holes I can sink into, but also stinging insects around this area like to use vole holes to make their nest, and it's that time of year. So I'm walking where my husband mowed yesterday because I know it's the safest. Over here, this is also a weedy mess. I have these Shasta daisies. They are huge. There's two more over there within the weeds that I haven't gotten into to pull out yet. I started these from seed 2 years ago, and they're finally getting flowers on them. And I'm very excited for that. I gotta come deadhead, but they are looking absolutely beautiful. And I'm probably going to cut some for arrangements pretty soon. So I have a bunch over here that are not open yet. And then obviously weeds, I gotta come get those out. My hollyhocks did not come back this year though, which I'm kind of sad by. Like, it looks like one was starting to come back there, I think. But that might not even be a hollyhock. I haven't gotten that close to check. I do have to come in here and clear. These Shasta daisies are actually getting moved in the fall. And I'm going to let this area go back to grass because I can't reach this area with my hose, and I don't get down here enough to weed the area. So, yeah. But I do like the Shasta daisies. Ooh, firefly. This is a wood chip pile that we were taking the wood chips from up at the top of the hill. And that is why it is so hard to get them because it's all the way up there without the lawn tractor. And those are the fields we were just looking at back up over there. And compost sunflowers are down there, and the daisies are down there. Okay, our broccoli brassica tents. The stalk was beautiful when it was growing. I never cut it for arrangements because I just did not have any arrangements to make at the time. But I just really wanted to know whether or not I could grow it. And it looked fantastic. It's fizzled out now. I gotta pull it out. The cauliflower, the white cauliflower, never got any cauliflower heads, but it still looks good, so I'm leaving it. The tent did not do its thing because it all got too tall. It pushed the tent out of the way. I do have some of the purple cauliflower in here. Not very many, but some of them. And all of the broccoli that was left has gone to flower, but we have eaten so much broccoli this season. It's been amazing, so. But all the broccoli did great. And honestly, there is nothing like fresh broccoli out of the garden. But it did all go to flower. Well, almost all of it. Most of it went to flower. Although there are some that we picked that were starting to flower that we still ate, and they still tasted fantastic. Little bumblebees in there. Last section of plants up by the house. I put these two. This is two different hydrangeas that I bought on clearance. And when I bought them on clearance 3 years ago, they were looking real rough. But they always end up with leaf spot, and that's kind of like the spot you're seeing there. I sprayed them, and they're looking better than they did. But I don't know that they know what this soil is, because they should either be pink or blue, whether it's acidic or alkaline, and mine are pink, blue, and purple, which has been really pretty. But I don't know why they're doing that. This area next season is going to get an overhaul because I've been clearing this out and letting it go back to grass so that I could solarize it and make lovely soil. But all of the grasses over here actually is because I dug out all the grass over here and then dumped all of that soil and grass over here and let it kind of sit, and it turned into grass. But I'm going to be taking this area and raising it up a little bit with some brick and then solarizing this, and then putting some fresh soil on top, like a thin layer of fresh soil on top. And then I'm going to be planting more stuff down here. So like you can see how it's not level. Well, you may not be able to see that, but it's not level here. This, where the hydrangeas are, is actually a good 3 inches higher than over here. So I'm going to even everything out and plant some more stuff. Hopefully I will have a wall along my bottom here of the fruit punch. I think it's some kind of fruit punch. They're like a reddish colored hydrangea by Proven Winners. That's what I want to line this entire thing, the little ones. But I mean, these are doing much better than they were last year at this point. The leaf spot is there, but it's not as bad. I got to do another spray on them. And then I've got 2 yew bushes that I would love to get rid of. Actually, technically I have 4, but there's 2 over here that I'd love to get rid of. My astilbe came in. This is the 3rd year for these astilbe. This one did not do that well. But this is what they did. They came in brown. They didn't come in peach. I don't know if they're just done or if I need to split them. In the fall, I'm going to look at their roots and see if I need to split them. I have 2 peonies that I bought this year. One there, one there. They're needing to be deadheaded, but they're just gonna hang out until I get around to that. Over here, I have a maroon colored with the tag still on it, clematis. I left it on its trellis because I just have not found a trellis that I like yet, but I do need to find one because it should be climbing a heck of a lot higher than it is. And then I have a lavender that is one of the plants that I planted like right when we moved in. So it's one of my anniversary type plants. Its counterpart was the rosemary that I pulled out in the spring because it just looked horrible. It was tired. It was overgrown. And yeah, so this lavender is still doing good though. Down here I have more clearance vines. Last year I bought a bunch of these columbine. A bunch of these columbine and just popped them in this corner, and they were beautiful when they started blooming this year. I'll put a picture of when they were blooming because they're done for the season. And then a coral bell that I have down here that I also found on clearance last year. Over here, I did not do anything with this area this year, which I planted it last year in a video, but I just did not get to it this year, so it kind of went to weeds. I have marigolds coming in over here that I'm just going to let come in because they come in anyway. So at least maybe they'll be pretty. I might put my little A-frame tower and let them climb that. But these snapdragons that are here, these red snapdragons, came back from last year, which I wasn't expecting, and they brought friends because they're growing in the cracks of my driveway. And they're just kind of everywhere. So it's exciting. I'm going to let these bloom out and then seed again because I'll take a free snapdragon. But yeah, this area is not looking as great as it did last year. Last year I had it really pretty with the Thumbergia climbing. I just did not do any this year. I saved all the seeds. I just never got around to actually doing it. But I think I want to overhaul this area next year too. I kind of feel like I want to put like a water feature or something in here. Like maybe a bird bath to distract from the wall tower thing we have right there. All right, so that's going to be where I end this tour back in the vegetable garden. And I am going to go and shake a whole bunch of Japanese beetles into a soapy bucket because I need to get them out of my garden even though it just started raining, which is fine. I don't mind being out here in the rain. So I'm going to go do that and hopefully try and save my garden. You see my weeding pile there. This yard is chaotic this year. I just thought I had more time than I actually did. So there's weeds everywhere. There's trash piles that I have to get picked up. There's works in progresses. These nets are supposed to be over there on the blackberries. They're not yet. And I did promise my kids at the beginning of spring that I was going to rehab their swing that broke this year, and I still haven't gotten that done. But do you ever not have projects? I mean, I always do. So thank you for stopping by for my quick, messy, weedy garden tour, and we will see you next time. Bye.